Hello everyone, this is Advent 1013 and today I am going to be walking you through how to go from a sketch to a pixel art. Now what that means is basically you might have a sketch on paper or digitally. For example, I will be using Mischief. Now I'm not going to go through drawing. In fact I already have a sketch ready. Let me open it up. It's nothing really special, it's something I did quickly for this video. I'm not the best of artists. If you want how to draw, there are plenty of other tutorials on YouTube on how to draw. In this case, I'm going to take this sketch and make it into a pixel art drawing. Now, there are many ways to go about this. For example, you can just mosaic this and kind of edit it out, but that might have some weird effects and it might take longer than what I normally do, which is basically I take this, I export it, and then I trace over it, which it helps get the basic form down. Now, I'm using Mischief free. I swear one day I will buy the full version. So let me go ahead and export the visible canvas. Yes, we don't really need to change this now. Let me just call it tube. Now, once again, you can always just scan a drawing or anything. It doesn't have to be digital. But what it does have to have is key features need to be outlined clearly. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to take the area we need, about this. I'm just going to give a nice gap on top so that we have room for error in case maybe want to increase the size of the hair, or maybe if we're animating we always have room to add a bit more. So I'm just going to cap the maximum height. There we go. Just going to crop this out, then I'm going to resize it. Now I'm going to resize, going to the maximum, I'm going to the maximum amount of pixels. I'm going to decrease that to 128. Because we are going to be making a 128 by 128 sprite. And there we have it. Now here you can see why I was saying you have to have it clearly defined, because when we're going to pixel art this, we're going to be tracing over, so we want the key silhouette part to be very visible. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this. I'm going to load up Aseprite, and I'm just going to drag this in here, and here we have the image. Now I'm going to create a new sprite, 128 by 128. There we go. And I'm just going to copy this over like I'm just going to drag it down so the feet are kind of going horizontal, so it's not one of those top-down kind of views. And there. And now I'm just going to paint the rest of this white so it doesn't annoy me. So what we're going to do now is we're going to silhouette in the key features. Now I want you to take notice that I drew it in black. Might have not been the best idea. So if we're going to make a silhouette, it's going to be kind of hard to see which pixels we have put in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to a different color. Something, yeah, like this. Let me dull it down. There we go, that's perfect. Now you can easily tell the difference. So what we're going to do is I've created a new layer. So just make sure that we don't kind of just draw on the same layer, because that'll be problematic. So in a new layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tracing over my sketch, kind of as well as fixing things up along the way. Now I also want you to take note that pixel perfect is on. This is very useful, especially when just drawing with a mouse. I would use my tablet, but it seems like unnecessary work to just use a graphics tablet for individual pixels. It's not like this is that big of a canvas, even though relatively 128 by 120 is still fairly big. Alright, that's the head segment. I'm not doing in the hair yet. I'll do that afterwards so that we still have the shape of the head. So let me get down body. Okay. Let me do myself a quick favor. Now I'm just going to ensure that continuous is enabled so that when I paint it, it's going to paint over everything that's white. And tolerance, let me give it a tolerance of 5 or 22, yeah. Actually, continuous should be disabled. Let me give it a tolerance of 10. There we go, not much loss of detail. And we can still see it's not messy, but I mean it is messy, what am I saying? But we can always just disable this. All we want to do is actually see, and all I wanted is the transparency so that, you know, I don't have to keep going to the erase, even though I can always just press E, but E. Oh, right, forgot. Turn the opacity down to 0, 255. Alright, let's get the rest of this down. Now I'm going to not touch this thing she's carrying, whatever it is. Not even I know. Like I said, this is just a sketch. In case you're wondering why the pixel perfect is quite important, is because when you're drawing, what happens is, if you decide to change directions, the last pixel there, if you move down, kind of moves in like that. It's quite useful for, especially when I'm using a mouse. It really helps get the details in quickly without having to erase too much. And let's continue getting this in. Let me also just separate this bit. And yeah, like that. Alright, now for the rest of it, I'm going to just fast forward through it because it's quite a long process. So I'm going to time lapse it from now. There we go. Now that's our basic silhouette. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start detailing it in. So I'm gonna have this up here for reference. I can always just turn that off if I want to. In fact, let me rename this. Let me call this sketch. Let me call this main. There we go. So let's go on with the face itself. Now this is going to be really hard to make out as to how to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in black, and I'm going to put a new layer so I can erase. Just going to slightly trace over that. The other side. It's going to be a bit tough. Let me move these eyes to the side. Good thing I put in a new layer. Yeah, I'm not going to obey the perspective I applied there. So, yeah, changing up my sketch. I don't really have a method as to what I'm doing. I'm just going about whatever feels right. The feeling is the most important aspect, so if it doesn't feel right, you should probably change it. There we go. We have our face in. Let me just put the people in there. People in here. And yeah. You know what, since we have that turquoise kind of prominently showing in there, let's actually have the main color as turquoise. Like so. In fact, I think we should probably... Let me switch the colors between the two. Let me just have this in there. Let me paint these two things completely different colors so I'm wrong there, so I don't lose track of them. Nah, we can do without switching. Alright, so now that we have the basic eyes down, this image is too small to have eyebrows. If we put eyebrows, it's gonna look a bit weird. Like so, it just feels a bit unnatural, especially when we put the hair. So I'm just gonna have to cut that eyebrow out. So now it's safe for us to merge this in. Now I'm gonna go with the hair. Now in my sketch, I had this funny kind of hair going on. So let me try and go maintain that style. As always, I'm gonna put it in a new layer and trace over. Now I really recommend keeping that pixel perfect option on. It is very helpful. Alright, so there we go. Let's turn off the sketch. Let's stretch this up a bit. Add a bit more detail here and there, so it doesn't look bland. And just fill in the rest since it's too easy to just go pixel by pixel. Alright, so now let's push the hair onto the skin. Alright, have that, I guess. That looks nice, I guess. I can dig it. Push out a bit more detail. There we go. Let me increase the height of this bit. Give give this a bit more asymmetrical kind of design from this half. We have this hair invade on the neck, and yeah, I can dig that. So now let's get into the mouth. Guess I'll just go for some simple mouth, just 3 pixels. Smiling, I guess, and start at the bottom, top of that. Let me move forward a bit. I'm fine with that. Seems pretty okay. Now let me try and do something for the hair color. But first let me merge this down. Now for the hair color, I'm going to see what I can find which is appropriate to this character. Use saturated color. I think bluish. Blue? Yeah. I guess blue. That doesn't look... no. Doesn't fit in too well. Let me make it a bit more purple, I guess. Continuous, paint it here. Right, first let me just paint over the mouth. Yeah. I should not have done that. Let me shrink the mouth a bit. Let me use a desaturated purple. Let me select this first. And brighten this up a bit. Yeah, that kind of fits with it, because most of the colors are pretty dulled down. I want something to just stick out the mouth a bit, but that'll look normal in a few more steps. So I think what we can now do is, since we have this done, we can now focus on this thing, which to my knowledge I don't know what it is. Could be a jet engine of some sort. So let's go. Same procedure as usual. I'm going to silhouette this in. So I'm just going to use a straight line to save time. So yeah. Initially I wanted her to be holding this, but appears now it doesn't really look bad when she's not holding it. So in fact, let me bring these forward by making these appear that like they are facing us. There we go. In fact, this hand, now that I have gone astray from my original sketch, I can always just lengthen this hand a bit more. Yeah, that's fine. So there we have it. We have a simple silhouette of our main thing. Let's just fill in these gaps. There we go. Merge this down, rename this to main. And yeah. Actually, kind of conflicted as to how I want to do this harness. Kind of want this to sort of attach to the back fur. Then we just have this kind of go over this side. So let me paint this out. Yeah, hide me continuous. Get rid of those pixels. Create new layer so that I don't mess up. and this thing's going through here, so it'll come out around here. And her chest's not entirely flat, so it will kind of go down in like that. Like so. Now it actually looks like she's holding it. Oh, this looks like something completely inappropriate. Let me go ahead and change it into something else. Such as a duffel bag. At least now it's no longer a nothing to a something. There we go. Now let's focus more on the feet detail. Since we only have one major color, we can probably divide this into further subcolors. Yeah, that's fine. We have most of the detail down. Let me merge this down. Alright, so that's about most of what I've done through the time lapse. Sorry I had to lapse through it all because this actually took me a really long time, which I can't fit it all into a single video. So let me just quickly run through what I have done. So basically I've shaded it in. For here I kind of just took a lighter tone here and put it around it so it has the kind of glowing effect. Although not that great of an effect, but the effect nonetheless. In fact, we can just kick it up a bit further. I can actually just show you. I selected that color, then I took the opacity to 100. Then I kind of just clicked onto it there. There we go. We take it back to 255. And yeah. Basically, yeah, everything else about shading and everything is all still just the same as my last video. There's no real change, it's just that I'm working with a bigger picture, which takes me a much longer time. Nothing much on the face changed. In fact, for the eyebrow, since it's big enough, actually shade the top half of it. Yeah, that should be fine. And for the eyes, we can actually give this a whole different shade, but darker. Let's see what this here. This is best. And for here, let's just saturate that a bit more. Put it on top. Looks a bit high, so let me not use red, let me use a bit more blue, as if it's reflecting some light. There we go. So there you have it. That's how you sort of trace from a sketch. Now I can also go further and kind of just outline this, which I asked the creator of Aseprite if he can just do me a little favor and create a convolution matrix that kind of outlines everything like that, which he did deliver, and I'm very thankful for that. So I'm not sure if he'll include it in the actual version, but I'm quite happy to see it here right now. So yeah, just making a quick note, this actually isn't included in Aseprite. I had to get it from elsewhere. Otherwise, you will normally have to manually put the outline, like I'm doing now, just to make sure you can differentiate from the bag. Let me just redo this. Alright, just did some fixes on the character, added a few more lines to show shading on the duffel bag, and added some dithering to the character. Now, dithering is basically just putting a few pixels in a kind of lattice or mesh kind of structure to give it like an extra shading without using more colors. If you want, I can probably focus on that on another tutorial, but for now, that marks the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Also, don't forget to rate the video and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me.